The woman who's jailed when she has like a child and a breastfeeding kid because she called a trans woman a man, she shouldn't have been jailed.
It's ma'am. You saw that video too?
Yes, I did.
Now, is that a slur? I'm making fun of that guy.
No. I feel like trans women aren't oppressed.
Well, he feels that way.
Yeah,
they feel that way. There are language
laws. But they're
laws.
white men, for the most part.
What if it's a black transgender? Who wins the oppression Olympics if it's a black transgender with rickets? Time for some bonus footage from the recent Change My Mind at UT Austin. Now remember, this Change My Mind setup was a bit different. We first let the students debate on a number of different topics, but I did eventually sit down with some students myself in the more traditional format, as you'll see here. Since the 4th of July is right around the corner, I wanted to include this conversation with Elise about why America is superior to all other countries. Watch, enjoy, and let me know in the comments section below what it is that you believe makes the United States the greatest country in the world. Happy 4th. All right. What's your name?
I'm Elise.
Elise. I'm sorry to hear that you were hit by a scooter.
Yes, I was.
Earlier.
It's not fun.
So we weren't even discussing this today. We just didn't happen to have the Build the Wall poster. But it seemed like you were passionate about this. I do stand by it. I do believe that the United States is the greatest country in the world. And if you disagree with me, you're more than welcome to change my mind, Elise.
Okay, I will say I do think America is great. I just think there are some things that make it not the greatest in the world. Maybe on par with some other countries, but not greater than them.
Okay, so which countries would you say are greater than the United States, and why?
Probably countries that have universal health care and stuff like that.
Okay.
I feel like that's a big issue with America.
So, like, could you name me some countries?
Like Canada and England and stuff.
What happened? Did someone throw something at you?
No, they started laughing.
Oh, that's okay. That happens.
I know.
Usually when I say something dumb. Yeah, so it's okay. So Canada or the UK?
Yes.
Do you believe that or did you say Canada or England specifically?
I said UK, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and all of those, they're in. Talking about any countries?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. You believe they're better than the United States?
Not better, but I think the US is on par with them. I don't think any of them are greater than, like, the other. Because
Okay.
I feel like, I just don't think America can be called the most superior country on earth when people are dying because they can't afford medication.
I do. Yeah, for a couple of reasons. Not only because our healthcare is better than those countries. By the way, did you know that I'm Canadian? I was raised in Montreal.
Oh, nice.
So, the death rates, the survival rates of serious diseases in these countries, particularly in the UK, 7 times higher if you have a serious disease or being in an emergency room than it is in the United States. The wait times, depending on the parameters that you use, can be anywhere from 2 times as long to 4 times as long. The healthcare outcomes are not better in these countries. And by the way, they're largely beholden to us providing national security effectively for the whole world because they don't have to burden that cost. So not only do I believe that obviously our healthcare system is flawed, but not only do I believe that our healthcare system is superior to those countries, particularly the country from which I migrated, to Canada, to the United States, but there would be another reason outside of healthcare. Let's assume that healthcare were better in those countries. Freedom is a big one. How can a country be better than the United States if they don't allow freedom to their citizens?
I don't think America really allows freedom to their citizens either all the way. Because once you've committed a crime, your rights are stripped from you. Right.
But we do assume that we grant everyone, we don't give any rights, we grant, or recognize is the term I should use here, I want to pick my words very carefully, recognize God-given rights to human beings here in this country that no other country recognizes. Namely, freedom of speech is a big one. That doesn't exist in those countries that you just mentioned. Is that not a biggie?
I feel like freedom of speech is very important. But at the same time, it's like, this is getting into the whole, like, freedom of speech, hate speech thing, right? Like,
No,
I mean, like, with freedom of speech being an important thing. I feel like there are certain things that are, like, more important than others.
Okay, so what's more important than the First Amendment?
Well,
what rights are more important than the freedom of assembly, the freedom of speech, freedom of the press? What rights would you say are more important for a government to recognize?
The right to life.
Okay, that's also something that we recognize.
Yes, but not entirely. If you are too broke, then America just doesn't recognize your right to life. They might say they do, but then it's, you can't afford insulin, okay, you're gonna die now. You can't afford this medical procedure, okay, you're gonna die.
Right. I think you're misunderstanding here the difference between rights and commodities. Right? You have the right to live. You have the right to seek the best health care possible for yourself. You do not have the right to force someone else to provide you with health care. You do not have the right to have somebody else create, invest, go through red tape and FDA approval process, study, become a doctor, go to medical school, get hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, and force them to provide you with medical procedures or drugs simply because you can't afford them. That is not a right. That's a good. That's a commodity.
But that's the thing, is I think that should be a right. You should
But it doesn't
have
mean
the
that
right.
it is.
You should have the right, but that's exactly what I'm saying, though. That's why America's not the most superior, because they don't see that as a right.
Sure, but we do see, I would say this, and maybe we just won't be able to agree. Freedom of speech, to me, is more important. I think that's a much more valuable fundamental right than forcing somebody else to give me free health care. You disagree with that?
Well, I feel like, because I do feel like freedom of speech is an amazing thing. It's great that we're able to sit down and talk and have debates on whatever we want because we have that right.
Right.
But at
And it doesn't exist in these other countries. We wouldn't be able to do this.
But I do believe, like, there's just a huge flaw in the fact that people are dying because they cannot afford things.
But more people are dying in these other countries because their healthcare systems are worse.
But
The mortality rates, the survival rates of diseases like cancer, terminal diseases, not to mention the diseases that are not being cured in these other countries, the major treatments are coming out of the United States because of medical innovation and research, which doesn't occur under a socialized system. So if you're talking about people dying because of healthcare, more people are dying because of lack of access to good care under socialized healthcare systems than the United States. No system is perfect. But are you willing to give up your freedom of speech, your Second Amendment rights? But let's just go with freedom of speech. You're willing to give that up for a worse healthcare outlook overall, provided that it's given to you at gunpoint by another taxpayer?
if I wasn't allowed to say certain things, like if I wasn't allowed to, I feel like there are things that people shouldn't be allowed to say.
Okay.
Is the thing. That's
so you
my
don't
stance.
support the first. So freedom of speech is not necessarily something you support. Now this. Okay.
I don't necessarily support people. People shouldn't be allowed to say. Like people shouldn't be able to say.
Do not say fire in a crowded theater, please.
I mean, like that. Yeah, definitely not. But that is technically like that incites a riot. Like that's already not. Like you could already get in trouble for saying
Yes.
that. Like,
That's not because of speech. That's because it's a lie.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like people shouldn't be able to like. We already have restrictions on freedom of speech here. You're not allowed to incite violence against people. Like it's like
That's not a restriction on
or
freedom of
not
speech.
that. It's like in a crowd, you're not allowed to like.
You're trying to think of an example. It's not saying fire, aren't you?
No, I'm not. But
That's what everyone says.
I'm trying to think of. You shouldn't be allowed to like. I shouldn't be allowed to go around calling people the N-word.
Why not?
Because that's a slur. Like
Sure.
that's not something
Sure.
I should be allowed to say.
Why not?
Because that's an offensive word. That's a slur.
It's an offensive word, absolutely. Someone just called me a idiot. Right? Should I be able to have these guys haul them away in cuffs?